Welcome to the Create a Magical Day podcast. I'm your host, Joyful Jania. Today's episode is all about creating joy, connection, and sacred spaces for healing. We're joined by the incredible Tiffany Asha, a yoga teacher, sound healer, and certified death doula. Yes, I said death doula. Tiffany's journey began in 2005 when she discovered yoga as a new teacher. It completely transformed her life and taught her how to embrace self-love through its ups and downs. Together, we'll dive into why joy is essential for deepening connections and community, explore practical yoga tips for overcoming challenges, and learn how to create personalized, sacred healing spaces at home. That sounds fun. Whether you're looking for a little extra peace or ways to spark joy in your daily life, this episode is sure to inspire you. Today, we are sprinkling joy into your day. Welcome to the Create a Magical Day podcast. Hey, Joyful Jania. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here with you today. I know I say that all the time because I am. I feel so excited and inspired before I jump on a podcast. I'm always thinking about what is the energy that I want to bring? What are some key things that I want to talk about to help you walk away feeling more joyful? I know that they help me too. Today, we're diving into how to sprinkle more joy into your daily life, even when challenges arise. We'll explore the practical yoga tips and ways to create sacred healing spaces at home and what it means to truly hold space for joy and connection. With insights from Tiffany Asha, this episode is packed with inspiration to help you feel more centered, creative, and joyful. I like to start the podcast with some joy. So something bringing me joy today. Oh, I'm so excited. I saw Mariah Carey live, her Christmas concert. It was phenomenal. Yes, I sang every single song the entire time. I was trying not to stand up because I didn't want to be rude to the people behind me, but I was just clapping and I loved it because there was one person next to me and I felt like we were grooving the whole time together. And it was cool. It was my first solo concert. So today I am so excited to bring on my really good friend, Tiffany. We are going to talk about how we know each other. And it goes back many years. I can't wait for you to learn some nuggets from her that you can apply to your life to help you feel more joyful. All right, let's bring on Tiffany. All right, we have Tiffany Asha with us today. Tiffany, welcome to the Create a Magical Day podcast.
Hey, Jania, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see your beautiful face. And look, we are both wearing yellow. Woohoo! Look, we had to bring the sunshine since it's raining outside.
Exactly. And it's my color.
Yes, because you are sunshine. All right, so to dive into this podcast, talking about all things joy and learning more about you and what you bring to people who are in your space. I'm really excited to talk about that. Before we do, I would like to pull a card for you from the universe has your back.
Okay.
All right. I love these. Gabrielle Bernstein. All right. So I'm going to shuffle. And whichever card is on top, that's the one that I'm going to read when you say stop.
Stop.
All right. Ooh. Okay. So this says, my outer experiences are a reflection of my internal condition.
Okay.
So tell me, what comes up for you with this card?
What a way to start. Just rip the Band-Aid off.
We just be raw and real with each other.
Sorry, let me catch my breath. Well, I think that goes right into insecurities, imposter syndrome, all of the things, masking, not masking. So when I was a school teacher, I definitely had, that solid professional mask teacher persona.
Mm.
And there was a duality that had to exist in order to be, like the professional teacher versus just Tiffany. And since I've left the classroom 4 years ago, that's been part of my shedding. That's been part of my rebirthing, is just being me all the time, 24/7. And when I do that, the internal and the external match. And
Ooh.
then I'm living my best life as the fullest expression of me, and I'm the only person I want to be.
Oh my gosh. I love that.
Thank you.
I'm gonna tell you why I love that so much is, well, one, I appreciate your openness to that and showing the connection between when we're living one way and
Mm.
then we see another opportunity. And I know there are so many people that feel that way and don't really know, honestly, how to break through, you know? And so then that leads me, I'm just
Just
gonna
go
jump
there.
in, okay? Because that
Do it.
card, it just like, let me tell you, I had like one structure. We about to break it up, okay?
Let's do it. Let's go.
Yes. So I know again, oh, that you're a school teacher because we go back because both of my kids, oh my gosh, that is so cool to me that both of my children were in your art class. So wild. And here we are, gosh, and they're both grown-ups living their best life.
They
And here
are.
we are, you and I, we still trying to be grown-ups living our best life.
I don't want to be a grown up. I just want to live my best life.
You know what? Yes, yes. Okay, but so you transitioned from teaching in the classroom to
Yes.
creating these sacred healing experiences. So, like you said, being you, and I know that's a big part of what creates your environment, is what I'm gonna say, right? And I know you do yoga, death doula, sound healing, and so much more. What sparked that evolution in your life?
Wow. Um,
Like a loaded question.
it is. All right. So I would say the journey began when I first started teaching. So when I first started teaching, I was so stressed out. I was so stressed out. I was teaching at the school your children went to. I was a young woman. I was in my 20s, trying to find my way. And I wasn't doing it the right way. I was overeating. I was a closet cigarette smoker. I would just go home and just treat my body like a trash can because I didn't know how to complete the stress cycle. And I didn't know what to do with all of the feelings and all the stuff that comes up when you're a school teacher and helping people all day long. So, 2005, I know this means it's my 20th birthday year. The school librarian said to me, she was like, "Hey, you're pretty stressed out. The free day of yoga is coming up. Come with me. It's free. Just come check it out. You might change your life." And I was like, "All right." So I go in my brown velour tracksuit.
Yes, to the tracksuit.
2005. It didn't say anything on the booty. I went, and it was this like magical, transformative, what the heck is happening to me experience. And I completely fell in love. And I kept going back again and again and again. And I was practicing yoga at that time 6 days a week. Fast forward to 2015. Fast forward 10 years. Got a solid yoga practice, changing my life, doing all the things. Huge, massive midlife crisis. Huge, massive midlife crisis. I decide this is the time where I want to become a yoga teacher. And I'm going to get a divorce, and I'm going to become a scuba diver. I'm going to do all this in 9 months.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Fast forward. Now we're in the pandemic. And teaching has changed. Everything's changed.
True.
And I'm trying to figure out Where do I fit in? What do I do? This isn't working for me anymore. So all of that identity that I had up until that point had to die. I had to lovingly release that entire identity and that duality that I created.
Okay.
And that was really, really, really hard.
Yeah.
For a while, I went to real estate school, like gross. Not that that's gross, but like for me, like that's not me. Because I was floundering. I was floundering until I came back into my yoga practice more and into my meditation practice. Because, I kind of let it slip at the beginning of the pandemic. And then I had to really come home to myself and really ask myself in meditation, like, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Like, what am I doing? What is this meat suit that I'm wearing? And why do I have this one?
Well, but what made you stop and even ask yourself that question? Because, like in life, things can become automatic. And then we could even see a downward spiral. We could feel like we're not living authentically. But how did you just even stop and ask yourself those questions to create something different?
I did. I had to, because I was at a bottom. And at this bottom that I was at is where I found these questions. And what I discovered when I was asking myself these questions is that throughout my career and throughout everything that I had been doing, I was a space holder. I was a space holder for kids for 17 years, helping them become critical thinkers and creators, a space holder in yoga classes, and a space holder for myself. And when I really turned inward and really allowed myself the time to go deep in discomfort, that's what I found. And it was like, oh,
that aha moment.
I'm a space holder. Like that can look like so many things. And it really just liberated me from all of these masks and titles and things that we have. I mean, obviously I know that space holder is in of itself a title, but
but it's a different one. And I think the key of what you're talking about is we have identifiers, right? Like I'm a teacher, I'm a woman, I'm a wife, I'm a friend, I'm a yogi, all of these things. And sometimes when we no longer want those titles anymore, sometimes it can be hard to transition out of them, because then you're like, well, what am I now? Like I think about, there are probably many women who are listening to this, right? I mean, men too, but we're going to speak to the women who are in different transitions. I have friends who are adult mothers now who are still struggling sometimes, because it's like, well, I was a mom, or someone who maybe was like a 9-to-5er and now they're an entrepreneur, and you're like, but I was that for so long. So how do I release that? So what would you say to someone like who's listening, if there is a change calling them, how do they go towards that? That could be scary.
Ooh, I would say run towards that change.
Run towards it.
Run. If you get that little like in the back of your mind, you got to listen. Because when you don't, you're denying your purpose. You're denying your journey. Maybe that is your intuition. Maybe it's your ancestors. Maybe it's all of the above, whatever your personal belief system is. It's really important that you listen, because the answers are always around.
Yeah.
But we don't take the time to stop and listen.
I think that's really powerful, with stopping and listening. I was thinking this morning how I was like, I've been like in go mode and trying to slow down at the same time. So there are certain areas where I am creating that. And I've asked myself, where can I listen a little bit more and truly listen? So I think that is so key, because we will hear it. Now, we may not always be ready to action it. We will hear it.
Yes,
And I think it's important to acknowledge it.
absolutely. And really important to give yourself time and space to process
Yes.
messages. It's
Yes.
not, when I say run, I don't mean like run and act. I'll say run to listen.
Okay. Run to listen.
And then, things take as long as they take. And also for myself and for anybody this resonates with, give yourself permission to fail
Mm,
because you might. And
yeah.
and that's beautiful. That's how we learn, that's how we grow. But you got to try.
Absolutely. Let me ask you this. So, when you said give yourself room to fail, sometimes that can feel hard for people, right? A lot of times people don't do things because of fear of failure.
Absolutely.
And I know you said there are lessons in that. How do you tie the entire experience to joy? Even though the whole process may not be joyful, but how would you
Mhm.
tie that to joy?
Ooh, that's another big question.
And I'll tell you, while you're thinking real quick, I'll tell you the reason why I'm asking that is because sometimes people won't do things because they're afraid. And when you're afraid, that doesn't feel joyful, or good, whatever the word is, right? And so then it's like, oh, I don't want to go through this. So that's why I asked, like, how do you tie all of it, even though every part of the experience may not be joyful, but how do you tie it back to joy? The
Um,
failure part, the learning the lessons.
all right, it took my brain a second, but discomfort and those lessons are what make the joy even sweeter.
Say that one more time.
The discomfort and all those hard lessons are what makes the joy even sweeter. You
I love
have
that.
to go through it all, you know?
Yes, I totally. That resonates with me. Yes. So when I'm thinking of you creating these sacred spaces,
Mhm.
I've been to some of your events. The last one was so much fun. Wait, what was it? Floating yoga?
Floating sound bath.
Floating sound bath. So
Yeah.
you're doing the floating sound bath, you're incorporating the yoga, you're
Mhm.
incorporating like being a death doula.
Mhm.
Can you explain to people about a death doula? Like, I know that people have heard of birth doulas, but
Yes.
can you explain that, why you were interested, and maybe if there's a story that you can share?
Yeah. Thank you for asking. Um, so death doulas are actually based on the birth doula model.
Okay.
It's just the end of life instead. So we have the absolute blessing and gift of helping people transition. So I work with families. Sometimes I also work with the dying directly. It just
Okay.
depends on the family, And again, I'm holding big space, I'm holding sacred space. Sometimes I just sit with the dying person. Sometimes I read to them, help families navigate, all the stuff that hospice or doctors don't want to tell you or can't tell you, you
Mhm.
know help them create rituals around the sacred time, how to create a vigil, how to do all of the stuff, so that the people involved can just be the family or the
Can you give
friends.
can you give an example of like some rituals that like you've shared?
Absolutely. So, for a recent client that was transitioning, the family really wanted the client to have the most peaceful, beautiful experience possible. So the ritual that I recommended was for them to have very low lighting in the room.
Okay.
You want the sounds, because hearing is our last sense to go. The sounds should be whatever music was like their most favorite music on
Mm.
low by them so they can hear it. And then as the time comes close, you gather around that person. And this family had a favorite prayer. So I offered to them, recite the prayer out loud to your loved one. You can hold them if you like, hold their hand, put your hands on their body, and just speak all those loving words to them. Tell them that you love them. Tell them thank you. Tell them that you're sorry, and tell them that you love them again, and repeat this until they transition.
Wow.
And then when they do, make sure that the window's open so that their spirit can fly away. They had a little candle by the bed as well, and I said, and when that's done, blow out the candle. And then after the fact, a lot of times, and this family was one of them as well, sometimes there's ritual bathing and preparing that people like to do before they call somebody, because you don't have to rush and call anybody. You can, there's a lot of studies that say the brain is still active for minutes to hours after the transition takes place. So you still have time. And it's an important sacred time to use very carefully and very specifically. So that's an example, and that is all derived from my father.
Okay.
I actually did a lot of doula work when my dad transitioned.
Really? I did not know that. How was that for you? Because that's your father.
Yes, we did work with a doula, but I was acting as the doula for my family and for my dad, and that's the gift that my dad gave me in the process. He reminded me, not through his words, but through his spirit and through that deep knowing connection that I have with my dad, that I'm supposed to help people in this way, and that I have the ability to help people in this way, to be like so loving and compassionate, and have that like seeing someone deeply and holding them in a compassionate, loving container to help them and their family go to the next place that they're supposed to go to, whatever their belief system is.
Yeah. And I have to add is that that's what you do for the living as well.
Thank you.
I think about when you and I reconnected and I was starting to do some workshops. I was doing them online, and you said, Jania, there's a space that I want you to come to. I think that you should do some workshops here. And I was like, wait, what? Like, and then I remember when I went to one of your yoga classes, you were like, go talk to those people about your session. I was like, but I'm scared,
Do it anyways.
And what I appreciated, again, is going back to you holding this space. That is so beautiful. And that's such a gift, because so many people need the space. And I speak to that being a emotional space as well as a physical space. Like, I think about like when you've come to some of my mom's events and you've done the sound healing and all the beauty, the gongs that you're bringing, and like your furry blanket and what's the clear one called?
The chalice.
Yes, that's so beautiful. Just your energy and then the things that you bring create this space for people who want to create a space for themselves at home, a space maybe they can go to when they're not feeling so great, a space where they can go and they feel uplifted, a space where maybe they're in this duality, right? And they're trying to just like, let me sit with myself, and they want to walk away feeling a little bit better, like they've released. What would you recommend for someone to do at home to create a sacred space for themselves?
Well, space is a commodity in any household, all over the planet, right? So it doesn't, I think people get caught up in like, well, I need a room. Well, I need this. No, you can have like the tiniest little something to focus your eyes on.
Yes.
Half a shelf. Give yourself half a shelf if that's all you have. Who cares? But have something, and make it as beautiful and as like scrumptious to your eyes as you can possibly make it. Marie Kondo that half a shelf. Like, joy, joy, joy only.
And then what would you recommend? Like physical things, smells, sounds, like what are some things that you do like to give them a few ideas?
Yeah. So, for me personally,
Mhm.
that's in my home is my altar. So on my altar, I have photos of my loved ones that have passed,
Okay.
and I have some special crystals around them as well. I have my childhood rosary. I have some little statues of different deities, um, and very special. Um, this is a personal share, but I'm comfortable sharing it with you.
Okay.
When my father was buried, I took a little bit of his graveyard dirt and put it in a little vial to have on my altar. So
Oh.
I have him with me because his gravesite is so far from me.
Okay.
So having that with me on my altar, really important. I've also got some little Palo Santo. So in the space that you're creating, you want to think about delighting your senses so
Okay.
that it's a space that you want to go to. So your eyes have beautiful things to see. Your nose has beautiful things to smell. Your ear has something beautiful to hear. And also, maybe that's silence.
Mm, that's a good
You
point
don't
too.
have to bring in a sound. I do firmly believe we're extremely overstimulated most of the time.
Yeah.
And I think, in particular, for a lot of women that I know, having a little bit of just shh is in and of itself, like, that's a huge gift.
Yeah. Oh, look, I understand. I was a mom to young kids one time.
Well, even once the kids are gone, just like, Teams going off, notifications,
Yeah.
sound, sound, sound. And sometimes when you're overstimulated, you just think like, oh my gosh, just everybody, please give me a second.
Yeah.
So if the sound that best serves your nervous system is silence, let it be silence. If you need another sound to help your mind calm down, I would recommend maybe playing some binaural beats to
Oh,
help your
that's right. Those
brain,
are so good.
yeah, turn off. Or, maybe you need some Mary J. Blige, and
Hey.
let's get in the dancery. I don't know, but
Let me ask you about color. Like, do you feel like that plays a role in the space?
absolutely. And the things that you look at, and then also being mindful of the color that you're wearing.
Yeah.
Just as we started today, it's a gloomy day, so we're both like, yellow.
Mhm. So it's like almost wearing a color to help create the space and how you
Exactly.
wanna feel?
Exactly. So if I need more neutrality, and I do wear this in my sound healing sessions, I wear white.
Yes, and it's
But
so
I'm very intentional with the colors that I wear. I'm very intentional with the colors in my space, as I know you are as well.
absolutely.
They really matter, and they really, I mean, color psychology is really affects everyone. So make it beautiful, make it pleasurable.
Such great tips. Thank you so much for sharing that. And you know what I like that you called out at first is how space could be like a hot commodity.
It is.
Because I do understand that. And so I'm so glad that you said it could be something as small as a shelf. It could be a corner. It could be
Yes.
like a closet, something.
Yes.
Because sometimes people may feel like, well, I just don't have space at all, so then they don't create it. So thank you for pointing that out, and then also things to bring into the space. I
Yeah.
love that you talked about like the sense around you, the
Mhm.
sound or no sound, the colors, what you're wearing. It's like being intentional, like how I talk about being intentional about joy and choosing it, being intentional about the space that you want to create to tap into how you want to feel. So I know that, of course, you're a yoga instructor, and we've talked about that, and yoga has really helped you a lot throughout your life. What are some tips for like maybe some easy yoga poses they could do in this space or just on a day where they're like, you know what? I need to calm my body or I need to increase my energy.
Oh, well, those are many questions. They all have different answers. What I did want to say quickly, tying
Yes.
back our last conversation with this one, don't ever let all the stuff get in your way of doing, whether it's enjoying your little space, whether
Okay.
it's, doing yoga or breath work or anything. Don't ever let all that other stuff get in your way. Just do it. You're
Yeah.
wearing the wrong color. Who cares? Do it anyways. There's dust on your shelf. Whatever. Sit. Have 5 minutes of quiet. Don't be distracted by the gnats.
Yeah.
Focus on the goal. And I hope the goal is turning within so that you can regulate your nervous system, calm down, so that you can lean into joy and lean into pleasure and have, a better life.
Mm.
When you're looking to regulate your nervous system and calm down, breath work that has some retention is great because we're squeezing that vagus nerve, hugging yourself, laying down on the ground with your belly down, having a weighted blanket, anything that brings pressure to the chest, to that motherboard vagus nerve in our system, will help you relax and settle down. That's why long hugs and deep
Mm.
breaths feel so good because that's what they're both doing.
Oh, I love that. Well, that makes sense. I love long hugs with Jamaica.
A long hugs, like there's nothing like it. If you're looking to amp up your energy, then you want a different kind of breath work. You want a faster paced breath work. You want to start to like open up your heart, be expansive, heart openers, maybe interlace your fingers at your low back, roll your shoulders back, look up, that sort of thing. Those are excellent. Heart openers, back bends, those are nature's natural energy boost.
Mm.
And
Those
then I
are,
would say, if you want to really take it to the next level for either end, do it outside.
ooh, why?
Something about being connected and grounded in nature, it,
Okay.
it like supersizes the experience.
Ooh, I interviewed Tage and we were talking specifically about grounding and how like it like it grounds you. No, how it helps you, like how you're connecting with the earth and you feel the
Yes.
energy and all of the benefits from that. So I could see that like taking your practice outside and just
Exactly.
really connecting with the elements.
Yeah. And if I'm very dysregulated or really need extra grounding, then I don't use my mat. I'm directly in the grass. And I mean, just even imagine yourself for a moment being outside. It's a beautiful sunny day. You have your mat out and you're doing a little yoga outside. The air smells delightful. It's a pleasant temperature. The sun is warming up your skin. You're moving, you're breathing. Like, even just taking a minute to imagine that, doesn't that just make you feel like,
No, you're right. And there have been studies that have shown that sometimes our bodies don't know the difference. Like the runner study, where it's like somebody was physically running and then someone was hooked up and they were imagining running and then their
Mhm.
bodies were responding similarly.
Exactly. So when
Mhm.
you're in stressful situations in your life, you've got that mental bank that you can go back to and
Yeah.
take a moment. And maybe you're not outside doing all that magical stuff, but you can go there in your mind.
I did that. Now that you're saying that, I did this I think it was last week. It was rough last week.
Yeah.
And so I was journaling about it because every morning, like stream of consciousness, I started writing with the artist way. And
Mm,
so halfway through, I was like, okay, I need to change this around because it's not helping me. Like, yes, I wanted to initially get it out, but then
yeah.
I just continued to write about it. And then the feeling got heavier and heavier. I was like, okay, we got to stop for a minute. So what I did was I was like, okay, Jania, we got it out. Yes, we don't need to continue writing about this. We need to change our energy. So
Mm,
what I did was I imagined like being outside in the snow with my kids and throwing
mm.
snowballs at each other And then Sean coming with our hot cocoa, and I'm tackling him. I don't know what happens to the cocoa, but but writing about that, even though I'm in my bed, I'm not outside, writing about that totally shifted my mindset. It totally shifted the feeling in my body. Then I was like, okay, I can go throughout my day. And it wasn't that I was denying or pushing under the rug the feelings that I had, but I also knew those feelings had nothing physical connected to them. It
Right.
was just feeling in my body. It wasn't like, oh, I'm not dealing with an argument with someone or dealing with something at work. It was just like, I think it was just lady hormones. And so I always say
But
this, I'm a
real.
middle-aged lady. So I didn't deny it, but I used my imagination to help me move through it. So when you were saying you can't go outside to do all the things, it's like imagining it. So I just wanted to share that. I really appreciate how you brought that up because it reminded me of that.
Yeah. And after you did that, how did you feel?
Oh my gosh, I felt so much better. I was laughing. I could see it. I mean, my whole body changed. I
Yeah.
went from feeling heavy and feeling stressed and sad and like all these very heavy emotions to feeling very playful and light.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. And I was very thankful for that because I was like, otherwise I'm staying in this bed all day.
And you know what? Sometimes it's okay to stay in bed all day.
It is. I just had a lot of meetings that day, so I couldn't.
Yeah. I mean, but at some point you do have to get out of bed. So if you're in a situation where you get stuck like that and you can't, and even imagining isn't enough, that's what I encourage people. And this is something I do for myself is move your body in a different way.
Yeah.
Shake, spin, dance, sing, do something to, literally change your energy and see how you feel.
I think, like you said, just try it. I always say that, with the tips that I share or the people on the podcast that share, try them. And if you don't like them, if they don't work, you don't have to do them. I just encourage people to try different things that may work for them. Because you never know unless you try. And then you can find things that you like. And then you know what? You might not like those anymore. Then you switch to something else. Like I change up my morning routine. Well, I probably always have tea. That's something I always have. But I may switch up if I'm blowing bubbles or if I'm reading an affirmation card or if I'm skating or if I'm exercising or if I'm coloring, like I may change, or if I'm meditating, I might change some of those up.
Yeah.
Based on how I want to feel or just where I am. So Tiffany, let me ask you, like, what are some everyday rituals or moments that spark joy for you that help you be a little bit more intentional about you being you?
Oh, well, I know I talked to your mom about this, but it's so true. The first thing I do when I get up in the morning is I make my bed. That's my 10 minutes of my morning meditation, moving meditation. I make my bed very slowly and methodically and perfectly because it's like it clears out the mental clutter that sometimes you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I need to. Right. No. No, you need to stand up and you need to drink water and you need to breathe.
Right.
And then you can start your day. So, doing little things like that are very helpful to me. So I spend 10 minutes in the morning making my bed, like just so. And then I like to make myself the perfect cup of coffee.
Ooh, I love how you say the perfect cup, like elf.
Perfect cup. The perfect cup of coffee. Maybe in my cup of ambition. I don't know.
Yes.
And then I give myself the gift of slow mornings.
Oh,
slow mornings are a luxury that I never used to have until I started working for myself. And I always give myself the gift of at least 30 minutes. No rushing, no working, just 30 minutes of enjoying every sip of my perfect cup of coffee. And those couple of things are, luxuries, but gifts that I'm able to give myself that I feel really lucky to do. And when I tell you what, when I don't do them or when I'm traveling, it makes a big difference.
Oh my gosh, I feel you. That's why I carry my tea bags with me because and you know what? It's a certain tea that I love. It's the Yogi Positive Energy
Yeah.
Tangerine. I carry it with me so then I can still create the same type of experience. Like that's at least the one thing that I like.
Yeah.
So I understand what you mean, especially like when your body gets used to something that you enjoy to start your day and you're like, "Wait a minute."
Exactly. Exactly. And then, conversely, at the end of the day, I have certain rituals that I do as well. We talked about a little bit about it earlier, but completing the stress cycle. So even though I love what I do and I know I'm in my purpose, days can still be stressful. Like
Yeah.
I'm not immune to stress and, discomfort and all the things. So it's also really important to do something at the end of the day for yourself so you can transition from your work mode or whatever was happening in your day mode to, relaxing, evening
Yeah.
time, family time, whatever it is. So for me, in the evening after I'm finished working, I give myself a half an hour and I sit outside.
Mm.
I sit outside, I look at the trees, I look at the birds. I just sit, I snuggle my dog, I sit and I breathe and I think about nature. I think about nothing. I just let my mind like calm down.
That's
And that's what
beautiful.
works for me.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing those. It's funny because at the end of the podcast, I typically like to do a rapid fire question. And you've
Uh-huh.
answered two of those and I'll tell you, one is what are parts of your morning routine that bring you joy? And so I love how you talked about your bed making and your perfect cup of coffee. And
Yes, with a
then
slow morning.
another one wait, what'd you say?
With a slow morning.
Yes, with a slow morning. I have started doing that even though like I still have a job that I go to since my surgery and I absolutely love it. My body feels so good. Before I used to just jump up and go like, "Oh, let me do this. Now I get up, I make my perfect cup of tea.
Yeah.
I maybe blow some bubbles, make sure the house smells good. Then I'll
Mhm.
crawl back in bed and I'll write in my journal for like 20, 30 minutes. Then
Nice.
I'll make my bed and then I'll get ready. And I absolutely love that. I'll even do that if I have to get up really early in the morning for something. Like I had to catch a flight. So I had to leave at like my house at 4:30 in the morning. I still even journaled. I still had my coffee, my tea. I did because I knew that that was important for me to start my day and for how I wanted to feel. And the reason why I wanted to share that is because sometimes like things in life, like we got to go, 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 right?
Mm-hmm.
If we maybe set our clocks a little bit earlier, right? Or if we can not do one thing to do something that we really enjoy is really choosing. We get to choose, even so sometimes we may feel like we don't. And I know that's not easy. I'm not saying that's easy. I think it's important for us to think about that. What is important to us? What are maybe a couple of things that are really important to give back to ourselves? I went for a walk yesterday and I was like, all I want, my purpose in life is just to be happy. Like, even when I think about my future self, it's just to be happy. And there are different things that help to create that.
Yeah.
And so when I was thinking about that and I said, and I make time for the things that make me feel that way, even if it's 10 minutes of coloring. And I think that's like important for us to identify what those few things are so then we can make them a priority because we have to take care of ourselves. I was like, and I want to put myself first and not in a selfish way. And it's funny. I was like, I don't have to say and not in a selfish way because I know that's not what I mean. Some people struggle with that, right? Like if you're a
Yeah.
mom or if you're a wife, is saying like, I put myself first. But what they say in the airplane, put your own oxygen mask on first.
Absolutely. Never apologize for putting yourself first. Never. Never. If you
Yeah.
don't do that, you don't have anything to give anybody. And if you think you do, you're fooling yourself.
Yes. My mom said, I think my grandmother said this, I'm sure somebody else too, but you can't pour anything from an empty cup. Like
Nope.
that's a lesson that she learned from my grandmother that she passed to me. And I
Mm.
won't say that I always live like that, right? Because being a mom, being a wife,
Oh, it
being a
happens.
student, doing all the things. I remember on the weekends, I'm waking up at 6 in the morning. So I was like, let me exercise. Let me read a book. Let me do this. It wasn't filling my cup. Even though I was getting up before everyone else, I was not putting myself first. I
Right.
wasn't nurturing myself. And I think that's so important for all of us to nurture ourselves, whatever that looks like.
And I think all that, what you're describing, is the difference between doing and being.
Ooh, yes. Because
Yeah,
we good at doing.
we are so good at, listen, as a woman in her 40s, I am a master of doing.
Yes.
But who does that serve?
Mhm.
Nobody.
And
Nobody
we think that it might be.
doesn't.
Nope. Because
No, we get that little dopamine hit checking it off our list, but so what?
especially if it's not who we authentically want to be. I
Yeah,
think sometimes we can get so caught up in doing that we forget about who we want to be.
I agree with you. And I think we also forget, like, time is such a precious commodity. I think
Mhm.
it's our most precious commodity.
Yeah.
And when we get caught up in doing instead of being, I think we're being maybe a little bit more careless with our time, and maybe a little more apt to say yes to things that we really mean no to.
Mm, yes.
So say no. I dare you to say no to something this next week.
Ooh, that's a good challenge. Tiffany dares you to say no to something this
Dare
week.
you to say no to one thing, just one
Mm.
thing. See what happens. I mean, I don't mean like say no to going grocery shopping or something that like you need to do to live your life, but like say no to something that, maybe you would automatically say yes to that you
Yeah.
don't genuinely mean yes to.
No, that's good. That's a really good tip. Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I'm going to ask you, so like I said, you've already answered those two. So
Okay.
I'm going to ask you two more questions
Okay.
and then we'll wrap up. So one is, how do you stay committed to joy?
Oh, I feel like I hear my mom in my ear all the time. Um, my mom always says, don't let anybody steal your joy.
That's right, mama.
Don't let anybody steal your joy. They don't get my joy. They don't get your joy. Don't let anybody steal your joy. So I've been hearing that my whole life. And I feel like that reminder is ever present. So when you feel like joy is something that you're able to connect to from an early age, I think it's a little bit more accessible. So I feel very privileged that my mom gave me that
Yeah.
lesson from an early age. But it's not something that's automatic for people, particularly I think for women, because we get caught up in that, like, people pleasing should
Right.
behavior, and that can be a real barrier to joy and a real barrier to what we really want. But listen to Mama Donna. Don't let anybody steal your joy. Go out and get it.
Thank you, Mama Donna. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. So last question, how do you celebrate your wins, big and small?
Ooh, um, that's a great question, and it's something that I'm not great at
Okay.
yet. Um, you know, whether it's a win, big or small, I always like to share it with people that I love.
Yeah.
But I admit that I get caught up in like, ooh, yay, next.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have been trying to do and challenging myself to do is giving myself a pause or a beat to like sit with it. How does it, big or small, how does it feel in my body?
Yeah.
Where do I feel it in my body? Where do I feel it, in my soul, in my mind? Is it in alignment? Like how, because not everyone is in alignment. Do I want this feeling again? Connecting with that, I think, also helps us know, like, if it's in alignment and if it's something that we want to keep pursuing. But overall, like this kind of thing, I got to work on that.
Okay. Well, that's your challenge.
It is
the next time that you do something that feels good, how will you celebrate? So I want you to think about that. And I'm actually going to put it in my calendar and I will text you next week.
Okay. Challenge accepted. And I will say, I knew that you would hold me accountable. So saying this out loud is also very intentional, because sometimes those little things like that, you need an accountability buddy to help you like, get over the hump.
No, absolutely. Because if there are areas where we feel a little stuck, sometimes it's hard to motivate ourselves. And so having that one person or people, whatever that looks like, I have many accountability partners.
Well, thank you for being mine for joy.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh, Tiffany, this has been, you said what?
Feels appropriate.
Yeah. Well, I tried just a little bit. Oh my gosh, I've loved this so much. So can you tell everyone how they can connect with you? I know that you have so many different types of workshops. So if you want to talk just a little bit about what you offer so people know, especially in the Austin area, but I mean, I don't know, do you travel doing death doula or do you just do it in Austin?
I can do it virtually.
Okay.
Right now for death doula work, I'm really just based in the Austin area.
Okay.
For sound healing, I'm at several studios around Austin. If you'd like to learn with me, I'm also over the advanced teacher training for Black Swan Yoga. If you want to learn how to become a more advanced yoga teacher or just deep dive into a topic, you can learn with me there. You can connect with me on social media. My Instagram is yoga sounds, and my website is just my name, tiffanyasha.com.
Awesome. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for being available. Thank you for helping to start my morning with some joy. Knowing that I was going to talk to you is what got me out of bed when I was in so much pain. And I was like, Tiffany and I are talking. And yes, we could reschedule, but I don't want to because I know talking to her and her magical unicorn energy would also help me with mine.
Oh, I love you, friend.
I love you. All right. Well, go out and have a beautiful sunshiny day in our yellow since it is not like that outside.
You know what? But the sunshine comes from within.
Hey. All right. Bye.
Bye, friends.
I'm over here doing a virtual dance because you just finished another episode of the Create a Magical Day podcast. Hit subscribe so you never miss a show and share with a friend who could use a boost of joy. Visit createamagicalday.com for show notes, joy resources, and to join our email list for extra inspiration. If you're looking to connect with more joy creators like you, join my exclusive Joy Creators Facebook group. See you next week. Remember, every day may not be filled with joy, but you can create joyful moments every day. Go out there